Do you remember when I talked about the PEP? I think it was probably like the first or second day, back when you still thought it was like really scary. It's called the PEP. It's a Flatiron thing, but really this is not Flatiron exclusive. These are some of the things that I've been meaning to talk to you about in terms of becoming a better developer. Some of you have approached me and said that, hey, I had to Google a lot and it takes a long time to figure things out. Anyways, yeah, welcome to the world of development. You will constantly be asked to build features where you can explain what you want, but you don't know how to write the code yet. And that's okay. What winds up happening is being a good developer, all it boils down to is, can I break down these large complex problems to small manageable problems that I already know how to do? You guys remember when I did the squirrels, nests, and trees and I pseudo-coded it? I was like, I need this, and then I'm going to do this with it, and then I'm going to do this with it, and that's going to give me the data that I need. In plain English, and then I wrote the code based exactly on the pseudocode, because I knew how to write every single one of those small code blocks. And then all of a sudden my method would work, because it makes sense on how I'm going to do it. Part of the code challenge and part of, if you want to talk about field day, is going to be very much like that, right? Can you pseudocode? Can you break these complex problems down into these small problems? Whereas they're all small, manageable problems, and they come together to make this beast of a method. And so it just kind of tests your logic. What we really emphasize here is sometimes some of you guys don't like this, and that's okay. I always say read the error. Whenever you guys bring me a problem, I'm like, well, so what's the problem? What's the error? And then immediately I'll ask, have you Googled it? Because as a developer, you need to become more self-sufficient in regards to solving your problems. It's okay. You're in mod 1. You're in mod 2. You're 3, 4, and 5. You're in school. That's what the instructors and the TCFs and the staff are here to help you. We're here to guide you. So don't be scared about asking questions. Don't be like, oh, well, everyone's just going to tell me to Google it. Yes, I will. But also, it's because I want you to be able to at least try. Who has Googled something and then went down like a deep rabbit hole and then still did not figure out how to fix it? Should be all of you, right? Like, I do it all the time. Then you ask a neighbor, but then you come and ask us. So what winds up happening is, who has come up with a problem somewhere in the labs? They didn't really know how to do it, but they thought they knew what the answer looked like, and then started Googling that answer. How to do what they thought was the right answer, right? Like in the classifications, right? They were like, oh, I think it's going to be a join or something. And then you went really down the join rabbit hole. Who has done that? Any other like examples of a time where you've Googled something, you're like, oh, I think I know how to do this, but I don't know how to write it, I'm not really sure. Or you Googled a problem, you had no idea what that problem was, and then you Googled that problem. And then that one gave you a problem, and you Googled that problem. Has that happened to anybody? All right, I need this participation. It's part of the lecture, right? So who has then asked either a neighbor or an instructor what the errors are in the Googled problem? Like, you're Googling something, you're like, I think I know how to solve this, all right? I probably have to use a method like this. And then you Google it, and it doesn't work. Then you ask, hey, why is that method not working? Who has done that? Okay, so there's a concept in programming and in development called the XY problem. And what that means is, you need to do X, right? Our spec is saying, this is the deliverable, build this deliverable, that's the X problem. That's the original problem. And you're like, you know what, I think I know how to do this. And you Google your Y solution. Once you start Googling your Y, you're like, all right, this will probably work. Then you're like, I need to make Y work to solve X. and then you ask a partner, hey, how do I get Y to work? Can you help me debug Y? And then you ask one of us, and you're like, hey, this Y is just it's not working. I'm like, cool. So then I'm going to help you debug Y. And then I'm going to make Y work for you. Once Y works, you're going to plug it into X. Sometimes X is still going to break. And then I'm going to be standing there like this. Oh, so that's what you wanted to know. You wanted to know this problem, the original problem, what the R spec was, or wherever the actual deliverable original scope was. It happens to everybody all the time. The only way to combat it is to recognize its awareness. Like, be aware, rather, and recognize that it exists. In the same way, the imposter syndrome. It's very hard to combat it, except to know that it exists and remind yourself that it exists, and hopefully that'll help. As well as, like, small wins. Tell yourself, like, hey, I'm programming eight hours a day. I'm, like, running stuff like a boss in the command line. You should see how fast you guys tab through things now. It's, like, blazing quick. So I'm going to show you a couple of other cool tricks. So the XY problem is very prominent in the world of development. And the way it pertains to you is explain what X is first. Always explain what X is to whoever you're asking, because they might immediately know the answer. They might have solved it before. They might have recognized it. And then tell them what you did to try to solve it. Also tell them, hey, I Googled this. I worked through this. Here's the why that I looked through. And they might be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're on the right path. Try doing it this way. That's what your senior dev or your boss or your peer partner will do. And so that's essentially the XY problem. It makes it so much faster to help answer your question and get straight to the point. Are there any questions on the XY problem? Makes sense. Yeah? Who's run into the XY problem before? Who has no idea what the XY problem is? Who understands the XY problem? Who's tired of having me ask like 3 or 4 questions to get participation? Okay, cool. Just me then. So this is a lab that I actually made with another instructor here. His name is Dick. Super cool guy. If you meet him, say what's up. So who has done the debugging lab already? Who's finished it? Who's finished it? You're done. All right, so I'm just going to fly through it. So the debugging lab is to try to get you to understand really common Ruby problems. So what you'll do is you'll run RSpec. So you'll run RSpec, and then you'll get some of these weird errors, right? So require relative, priority, you called. Who can read these error messages? Who understands what's happening? Without looking at the code at all, you should be able to tell me exactly what is wrong. Who can tell me what's going on here? Yeah, David.
The first syntax error it shows in debugging first priority / that was expected RP and line 29 there's syntax error they're expecting it in keyword end.
Yeah.
So they're expecting an end in Ruby line 29. So that's what broke it.
Right. So without anything, just this error message, I know that I'm missing an end statement. All right. What about here? It's fine, go ahead.
Undefined variables from Mario Party, line 3 of the first priority 12.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically about it. If you have errors that don't compile, your RSpec won't even work. So you should be trying to take care of these errors first. So let's do that. All right. I know I'm in. Okay. Should be in something else. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this one. Cool. Let me blow this one up. All right. So I'm in first priority, right? So that was unexpected. Line 29. What does that even mean? So when you're first here, it's hard to see, right? I need to make sure I have all my end statements. So this ends, this ends, this ends, this ends. Cool. So here's a little tricky. So I have an if else. Does this end? With this do probably goes to this end, right? And then this if else probably goes to this end. And then what does this end? And the def. So it looks okay. So where am I missing it? Huh? I'm missing the class end, right? Which should probably go where? 26 and a half? And so that's why you usually see me drop comments like this. Like end class. And that way I can see immediately that this end should not be a part of this. So I make little comments for myself. The easier and dumber your code, the better developer you are. Do not fall for the trap where I need to write really sexy code. And I need to like use ternary operators or like really fancy loops to make it really elegant. The easier your code is to read, the better it is, period. And it's because somebody else will need to update your code. Somebody else will help you debug your code. If your code is unreadable or it's difficult to read, you're going to have a bad time, right? Like, how easy would it be to debug this?
Because there's no indents. You can't figure out.
Yeah, the code's not readable, right? But it's not just like the indentation. It's like the thought process that when you write bad code and it's unreadable, it's really hard to debug. In the same way that if you don't have like indentation or proper indentation, it's very hard to see. All right? So cool. So what else we got? So what was this error? And why is it causing it? I thought you guys finished this lab. All right, I'll just tell you. So it's undefined method Super Mario Party. I'm calling on a method or a variable called Super Mario Party, and it hasn't actually been defined yet. It'll never hit line 5, and it'll break. So what I should do is hold Control Command and slide my code down. And now it should compile. So another thing, Atom is an amazing IDE. What you can do with Atom is absolutely limitless. Like, did you guys see the other day when I did this? Oops, like this. And then I can like add all this code in like one line. There's something called packages in Atom that you can download. One of these packages is the terminal. And you can do this. And just like that, you have a terminal. All right. I'm not going to use this because you probably can't see it. But in the same way that you can just run your commands, should be good to go. So let's do it. Oh, snap, that's what it is. I'm still zoomed in. Cool. So now you should be able to see where all the failures are. This just means that the first 2 tests passed and the rest failed. All these errors here. No method error, right? Expected this, got this. Name error. Did you mean? Are you familiar with all this? All right. Who wants me to go over this? Cool. So let's do it. Who's seen this? What does this mean? Right? Fail fast. So what it's going to do is it's going to run all the tests. It's going to hit the first one that fails, and it's only going to give it to you this way. So watch how fast this runs versus this. Oops. It's a little bit faster, and there's only like, I think there's like 15 tests. Once you start writing your own tests and you test all your code, honestly, you'll probably have hundreds of tests. So when you run fail fast, you'll be surprised how much faster it'll compile and it'll run and execute. So what does this say? How do I read this error message? Yep, that's right. It's no method error, right? Undefined method, unleaded price, and this object. Did you mean unleaded price? Where can I find this? Where can I reference this? How did I know that? How did I know to go to the gas station class?
So you call
Hmm? Yeah? So where's this file? Where does this file live? Hmm?
classical gas.
Yeah? Here? So what's wrong with this?
Doesn't have a setter. Method.
Right?
It's only in the reader.
So what is this? That's right. It's the setter method. So it's missing the setter method. Right? Cool. What about this one? What is going on over here? Yeah.
Returning something different.
Yeah. So this is what it expected, and this is what it got, meaning that this method is actually returning something different than what you expected. So you should go into this method, selection, and then you should be able to figure out what's wrong with it. Right? This is like just how to read the errors. What about this one? Undefined local variable or method. Here it's trying to suggest something, but if you look really closely, is that spelled correctly? No. So it's probably just a typo, right? So when you see undefined local variable or method, it probably means you either are calling it before you are defining it, meaning that maybe you're not requiring the file, you're not require relativing the file, or you just have a typo. Small things like this happen. What does this mean? That's right. When you call a method, right? It says play game, and you're giving in Jay-Z and Beyonce. So you're given two, right? You are passing in two arguments. But this method, probably when it was defined, is only expecting one, right? At least that should be my initial thought process. What it actually is when I get down into it could be something different, but at least have an idea of what's happening. The error messages are your friend, right? What about this? This one's a really good one. String can't be coerced into fixed num. This is going to be one of those things where this is just like a really simple Ruby syntax error. So let's take a look at it. Which one is it? Yeah. So what does this mean?
Trying to add string in it.
A string can't be coerced into a fixed num. What this is saying is that a string cannot become a number, right? So the way to fix this is what? How do I read this?
As it's written currently,
How do I read this as it is currently?
10 times the letter S plus.
Right.
Add on to the string.
So how does Ruby interpret? Left to right or right to left? Great. So I'm trying to multiply 10 by a word. Like, can you do 7 times, like, jack of all trades? You'd be like, I don't even know what that means. Can I do 8 times table? Can I do, like, 11 plus drawer? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, right? So if, in fact, we do this, what I'm saying is S plus the string, do that 10 times, right? It doesn't really have that much of a difference, but just the way it's going to read is that take this string S, and then do it 10 times. Multiply by 10. So you should see like 11 S's or 10 S's, right?
That'll work.
Wait, is it before or after the string?
Huh?
It wants to repeat the S 10 times.
Yeah.
And then have the string. So could we put it in the middle?
What do you mean? Like this? Will that work? Right. Well, for me, I'm not trying to pass the test since I'm hearing way too many answers, and so I'm just gonna run through the lab because the feedback is too much and I need to slow it down. All I'm trying to explain is like what the error is saying. You know, like if I read this error, I should have an idea of what's happening. Does that make sense? Otherwise, I mean, I could just solve the lab for you, but. Say again?
Would we ever interpret a string as based on its like
If you tell it to. Does anyone want me to keep going? That's right. Cool. Great. So let me show you some cool pry tricks. Boom. Who remembers this lab? What a great lab. Bloop. Do you remember this? Squirrel's Nest Trees, the original, back when I had to drop the binding in the combo file. This was before we were able to persist the data to a database. So I had to create those instances every single time. And I think if you really want to go back and listen to the lecture, I may have said, I got to create seed data. And that meant nothing to you. And nobody asked me. But now you know. Cool. So let's do it. This is the many-to-many, right? How do I hit that binding? I gotta run this RB file, right? So Ruby, right? So now I'm at the binding. I actually probably should just save it. Oop. Cool. So now I'm at the binding, right? How do I check all the files in my directory? Like if I had a new file, right? And I wanted to see all the files in my directory. How would I do it? What's the command? ls, right? So I can just do this?
Yep.
Yeah? I'm very boring. I don't have a lot of things on my computer. What if I told you you could do that in pry? What is self right now, actually? Let's find that out first. Did you know you just call self randomly in pry? Bam! It's main. It actually returns something. So this is just like the main pry session. All right? So how do I know? What is ls? Okay, cool. So what does it list? What does it say here? Oh, what's this? I have an inspect and I have a toString. I have all these locals. All right? I have, what's this? This is my seed data, nest 1, 2, 3, right? So how do I change directory? CD, right? So I can just like CD into like a new folder like this, like CD Flatiron School. Let me just do this, boom. Cool tricks, yeah. So can I just CD into nest 1? You nodded your head, you're like, yeah, totally. For sure, definitely. So now I'm in nest 1. What is nest 1? Let's find out. It's the object. Right? So I'm the nest. Do I have a tree? And what's that tree's species? Whoa. There's more to it. So I'm the nest, right? I can ls. I have nest. These are all my methods. Squirrel and tree. Self.tree. I bet I can call self.squirrel. And what should that return me? The squirrel instance, right? This thing? This squirrel instance? Yeah? So let's find out. What is self again? Self.squirrel. Ah, can't spell. Cool. I can call its name. So look, I have a variable all. All right. Do I have all here? No, because I haven't defined it. All right. If we went back to the actual code, I didn't define all. I'm a bum. So what else? How do I get back? cd up one folder. Now I'm back at main. All right. What if I want to test my classes? How would I jump into a class? What's this? I can call it. I have tree methods, right? Because this is the class. I have tree.all. Right? These are class methods that I have. So let me find out. Tree dot, what? How many squirrels? I spelled it wrong? Oh yeah, that's right. So look, see this dot? That means that it's a class method. You see this little hash? That means it's instance method, right? So of course this wouldn't work because class methods on classes, instance methods on instances, right? So how do I get into this instance? I know I have the instance, right? Let's go into tree 2 for funsies. These are my methods. So self dot
Your main directory, where is it? List all the classes you have. Like it has all the instances.
where's all my classes? That's a great question. Let's find out. I'm in main, right? And I have locals. Let's dig into the locals. All my objects are there. Whoa.
Yeah.
So that's how you can like jump into and become anything that you want. You can CD right into it, call the methods. If you're the instance, you can call and test those instance methods. If you're the class, you can call and test the class methods. Question?
So like those are the tree class file, the squirrel class file. Is that what those are?
Which one?
Like inside of locals, are those the objects or the actual class files?
These are the objects and the variables I have assigned them to. See?
So like let's say you didn't create any objects.
Then I would have all of this here and nothing else.
Yeah, so like what if you want to know what classes you have defined?
What classes I had defined?
Like how would you know you had a tree class without having I don't know if you would not know that.
What classes I had defined?
Like where is the class itself defined? Because we see that the instances are defined over there, and when you run locals, you can find them. But the class itself, is there a way to like do like an ls and just get tree, like the tree class, the squirrel class, and the nest class?
You want to find all the classes that are defined.
In the
Actually, I don't know. But that would be a great way to because some to look up. Right? Pry is really, really powerful. There's also like a lot of really cool things that you can do in Pry. So let's find one. Let's see. Do I have a gem file in here? I don't have a gem file in here. I will need to install it. So I'll show you. So there's this amazing gem. Who has heard of PryNav? Right? Cool. Any questions on that? Cool. So now I have a binding pry, right? Let's say I want to test something. Like this one, right? I can drop a binding here, right? I need to bang out of here. So how do I call that? How do I get into that pry? In the squirrel class, right? My nests. So it's an instance method, right? Squirrel 1. My nests. I hit it. So what is nest? Cool. How many nests do I have? Let's just find out. So I have 3 nests, right? I want to make sure that, what's this first one right now? It's this one, right? Let's just say it breaks later. Like it breaks on this 3rd nest object. How can I get to that 3rd nest object? I can exit, right? I can hit next. And what is nest now? So nest was the brown oak. Well, it's just 2 brown oaks. Clowns.
So we go one more.
Let's go one more. What is nest now? Now it's this blue oak. Why did we name squirrels blue? Wouldn't it have been nice to use Faker? Lord of the Rings characters, Pokemon characters, funny names. So yeah, I can use nest. I can use next, right? What if I want, like, let's just say I made sure it was good. Like, hey, that's definitely good. And I want to just finish running the code. I just continue it, right? Continue will run until it hits the next binding. So if I dropped 2 bindings, it'll just go until it hits the next binding. Huh?
Can you go? What was the difference between next?
Next will literally run the next line of code.
Or just only the next?
Only the next line. It'll run one line and then it'll just keep going. Continue will go until it hits the next binding. Unfortunately, this is one line and then it immediately goes back to the next nest. So continue and next, you didn't really see much of a difference there. But there is a difference, yeah. PryNav is like a really powerful tool that you'll learn about going into Mod 2, but it'll be called ByBug. So you'll be able to like step into all your methods, continue it, and go next. So you can really like debug and like dive deep into your code. You know what I'm saying?
So I can only break continue if I'm using PryNav.
Or PryByBug, yes. So without the additional gem of nav or ByBug, you cannot currently. If you ever wanted to add it, I'd say go for it. If you feel comfortable. Just extra features. Any other questions on debugging, additional Pry cool stuff, or the XY problem?
What was the job called? Just PryNav. Actually.
Yeah, but try using something called PryByBug. And I'll just Google it for you real quick. Because it has a bizarre spelling. ByBug. So like, here's how I know to use that. Even if you want to Google PryNav, you get into it. Cool. And then the first thing you see is, are you using MRI Ruby, which is what you're using? We recommend PryByBug. Cool. This dude, David, that is a cool David spelling. Yeah. And this is it. If you want to read what it can do, it says Ruby 2.2 or higher, or 2.3. All right, you're using 2.3.3. You're just going to do gem PryByBug, and it tells you all the cool behaviors that you can do. You can break conditions. You can jump into things. But yeah, the power is yours. Any other questions? Good question. Dave. I can Slack it to you. Right, because Googling is hard, so I get it. I'll Slack it to you. No, I'll Slack it to you. Yeah. Anything else? Awesome. That's all I got for you guys.